As prelims is approaching, it's very close to us, and that is the reason we are here with this marathon, which is the new favorite of UPSC is the constitutional development. The Governor General of Bengal was having only and only casting vote. In 1858 Act, they were not able to make some changes in Indian governance or the Indian administrative system. First thing Tilak wants to get is he wants to re-enter into Congress fold. Second main personality over here is Annie Besant. Desperate times needs desperate measures. As prelims is approaching, it's very close to us, and that is the reason we are here with this marathon, or you can say rapid revision of modern India. So idea is to quickly go through those topics which are very much in demand, which are very much are catering a lot of questions every year in last 10 years especially. Right, so hi, Abhishek Shrivastava. I'm core faculty PWOLEIS. I basically teach history and culture, and I'm teaching for last 10 years. The rest you can read from here. So today also you can join this Telegram channel for all the updates and especially this PDF. So basically I'll be taking up 5 topics. So as per the analysis in last 10 years, almost you can say more than 60% of the questions, right, came from these topics, which is the new favorite of UPSC is the constitutional development, the acts, the various acts, right? Other than that, UPSC is very much focused upon the Indian national movement towards the end, right, after 1905. So 1905 to 1918 and 1930 to 1947, you can say this is a new favorite and very important. Other than that, economic policies of the British is another favorite, and then socio-religious reform movements. So these are the 5 topics which have contributed more than 65% questions, 65% all the questions which are coming from modern India. So we'll try to go through these topics very quickly. I'm also assuming that you all are on board, that you have already studied modern India and here you are for revision. So we'll quickly go through this. I've used my handwritten notes into it, and that is the way we'll quickly browse through these topics and see what all things can be asked, right? This will help us quickly revise the whole thing. So the first topic is constitutional development. So before we embark on the constitutional development thing, let me tell you from where UPSC is asking. So from 1757, this is the time where East India Company, this is rise of East India Company, right? Introducing the timeline. So 1707 to 1857 is the season 1 or the part 1, where 1757 to 1857 is the point of company's rule or East India Company's rule. After 1857, Crown has taken over. So 1857 to 1947, this is season 2 or part 2. Crown rule will be effective over here, right? So UPSC is asking from, so first of all, UPSC is asking from how Britain is controlling East India Company. This is one part, right, and one important part. Second is how Britain is governing India, what all acts Britain is bringing with respect to Indian Councils Act and Government of India Act, right? So this is one important topic. Another important thing is how after 1905 we have taken up our national movement, right, especially moderate era and eventually Gandhi era. So these 2 topics are UPSC's favorite. So these are top 3. After that, we'll be also talking about economic policy, right? Another policy with respect to economy. This will be our 4th topic. Last topic, we'll be talking about social reforms. So a lot of social reform movements will be happening over here. Social reformers will be there. So we'll quickly go through social reformers as well. So these are 5 topics which we are targeting. I'm assuming I'm hoping that there will be a lot of questions from these topics. Mostly you can say 70 to 80% questions must be coming from this topic only. So that is the way it will become a very high yielding video, right? There will be very high return on investment on this particular video. So let's start. So let's talk about the acts first. So starting from 1773 Act to 1858 Act. This is our first zone, right, in our first season. So before we start the acts discussion, first of all, let's discuss what is the structure of power right now. So in Britain there is a crown or the queen or king, and you can say under this crown there is Britain government, right? Similarly there is East India Company in Britain, and East India Company is being governed by, it is being managed by the court of directors. They are the one who are basically calling shots in India, and in India, so they are the one who are they are the deciding body. In India, we have one governor at Bengal, which is gradually very important, governor of Bengal. Plus there is similarly governor at Madras, and there is a governor at Bombay. right? So there are 3 governors in India. So this is how the management was going on. Now somewhere this arrangement is in 1770s, let's say 1770s. Now in 1770s, Crown decided that they want to regulate the, you can say, this whole functioning of court of directors, because they realized that they are not functioning well. The revenue which is being generated from here is not at all profitable for the company. So there are a lot of mismanagement. Also, they realized that such a precious territory cannot be left into the hands of a private company court of directors. So they have to regulate this. Yes, so this idea of regulation came into picture. So yeah, so in 1773, for the very first time, they decided to regulate. So 1773, the first act came, which is called as Regulating Act. In Regulating Act, what they said, that from here onwards, the court of directors, so the number of court of directors will be fixed. Right, so that there is no arbitrary behavior over here. We don't know how many number of court of directors are here. So it was fixed. That is one thing. Another thing is their retirement will be 1/4 annual. Yani means 25% of the court of directors will retire annually. This provides a permanent structure to the court of directors, so that there is no ad hoc policy. Another very important thing is that this court of director was supposed to present all the documents to the treasury and all the documents to the Secretary of State. This is how the court of director or the East India Company was subordinated to the government. Yes. Another very important decision they made, that in India, the governor of Bengal will from here onward will be called as Governor General of Bengal. Right, now let's understand this. So from here onwards in 1773, it was decided that no more Governor of Bengal. It is supposed to be called as Governor General of Bengal. Plus he was given a council of 4. Another thing is that this council was important. This whole council, it is called as Governor General of Bengal in council, and they can only decide by majority vote. Yeah, so the majority or the democracy will prevail. Let's not call it democracy. Majority will prevail over here, and governor was not having much power. He was only and only provided with casting vote. So if there is a tie, he can vote. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, nothing. The Governor General of Bengal was having only and only casting vote. Also, this ensured that the other 2 governors become subordinate to the Governor General of Bengal Council. Yes. So other 2 Governor General will be subordinate. So this is how the centralization of power is happening. That on the top, government is there regulating the court of directors, and the court of directors is coordinating with Governor General of Bengal. The other 2 governors are under them. So this is how a pyramidal structure or the hierarchy was established. So this made some sense, right? And the court of director number was fixed to 24, retiring 1/4 annually. Plus they have to submit their documents to Treasury and Secretary of State. So this was the arrangement in 1773. So this is how the regulation started. Now they also didn't know what exactly they are doing, right? This is like unsaid waters, right? They don't have any idea what they have done, but somehow they have started. This led to, you can say, a lot of issues for Warren Hastings. It was very difficult for Warren Hastings because he was the Governor General of Bengal then, and it was very difficult for him to manage these 4. Anyway, so after this in 1784, there is one amendment. In 1781, there is one amendment coming in. This amendment is about that if there is any officer who does something in his official capacity, he will have judicial immunity. There can be no judicial action over that person if he did something in the judicial capacity. Another major turn came in 1784. This was Pitt's India Act, 1784 Pitt's India Act. In Pitt's India Act, the whole structure changed. In Pitt's India Act, they decided that what we need is, we need a proper department under the government, which will be called as Board of Control. Board of Control will consist of Secretary of State, it will have Exchequer, and it will have some council members, right, from Crown. So it will have some Privy Council members as well. Privy Council is basically Council of the Queen. So Privy Council members will, or King, Privy Council members will also be there. The Board of Control. Now the purpose of the Board of Control is that they defined that the Court of Director has 2 types of function. One is commercial function. Since this is a trading body, they know how to do commercial function, no issues, right? They can do as per their wish, no issues, no challenges. But the other function was the administrative function. Since it's a trading body, it has no idea how to administer. So all the administrative function has to be filtered through the board of control. They are the one who will be providing approval for all the administrative cum civil cum military functions. Right, so this is how the court of directors became subordinate to the board of control. All the administrative function has to be approved by the board of control. Sometimes even they give their own idea, their own proposal, and not only proposal, their own, you can say, orders that this has to be implemented. Right. So now, 1784 becomes very, very important, Ki haan, now there is changes in the whole thing, that court of directors are being controlled by board of control. Another important thing happened in India. Now from here onwards, Governor General of Bengal will not have 4 members but only 3. Plus one of the member will also be commander in chief. This was also stated. Now next, what is happening in 1786? 1786, it is basically because of Cornwallis. Cornwallis was supposed to come to India and he requested that I will only and only go to India if I have overriding powers. If I don't have overriding powers, I will not be doing the same thing which Warren Hastings was doing. Right, and it does not make sense. I will not go without the overriding powers. The 1786 Act is about overriding power. The Governor General will get the overriding power. Now, next turn came in 1793. In 1793, the charter of the company was expiring. Charter. So here we will see a series of charter acts. Charter will be renewed every time for 20 years. And there will be some conditions in the charter. First such thing happened in 1793. So in 1793, for the very, very first time, we have 1793 Charter Act. Let's talk about what happened in this Charter Act. First of all, it was decided that company has to pay 5 lakh to the government, right, every year, annually. Second, the overriding power which Governor General or basically the Cornwallis had asked, that will continue, that will be given to the future Governor Generals as well. Second, senior officers, because they are very, very important over here, if they go on leave, they go back to Britain without informing, without a leave, it will be considered as resignation. Second, the privilege trade. The privilege trade or the country trade was allowed. Why? Actually, there was a trade happening with China. This was about opium. So opium was grown over here and was sent to China. This was illegal trade. China was not allowing this. So this has to be done under table. This has to be done illegally. So that is the reason the concept of privilege trade, that you can do trade in the name of someone else. Right? The privilege trade came to picture. So privilege trade was allowed. Right? And it was also officially allowed. You can do this. Second, the concept of home charges. So home charges is that in all these things, and in all these functions, Crown or the government might incur some expenditure. Right? In managing India, there can be some expenditure by the Crown. Maybe the officers or the people posted over here. Maybe somebody sent to India his salary and the pension. Something like that. So all the expenditure incurred in this expenditure will be charged upon the home revenue or the Indian revenue. It will be termed as home charges. So from 1793 onwards, we have this concept of home charges, that any expenditure incurred by the Crown in managing India on behalf of the Court of Director or the East India Company, they will be charging on the Indian revenue, or it will be called as home charges. So in 1793, we also have this concept of home charges. Yes. Other than that, it's the idea of Cornwallis that revenue has to be separated from the judiciary. What was happening, that a lot of collectors were also judicial magistrate doing the judicial functions, and along with that they were also the revenue collectors. So these two positions in one person, this is not something which we expect. This was not the right thing. It is against the policy or the concept of separation of power or natural justice. Right, so now the revenue and judiciary were separated from here. Also, the government said that whatever the rights are there, rights of the people, that has to be printed and given. So that right, printing of the right was also stated in this particular act of 1793. Then after 20 years, again the charter was expiring, again it was renewed, and after 20 years again we have one more act. This is Act of 1813. Now 1813 Act again is very, very important, because somewhere it leads to you can say start of the cultural conquest. By this time, by 1813, they already have done the territorial concept. conquest. Now at this point of time, they will start aspiring for the cultural conquest of India, like English education. It will start happening gradually, but still. So now, so one thing they said, that from here onwards, the monopoly of East India Company will be gone. Till now, East India Company was having monopoly on Indian trade. Only and only East India Company was allowed to trade in India. Of course, in Britain, not the other European companies. So only East India Company was allowed from Britain to trade in India. From here onwards, it was said that no more monopoly. Then East India Company requested, this does not make sense, we are doing this for so long, how you can do this. Then they were allowed for tea and China. So only monopoly in tea and Chinese trade was retained, otherwise whole monopoly has gone. It means that now more private companies can come from Britain to India for the purpose of trading or investment or selling, whatever they want to do. So monopoly was gone. Yes, only tea and China was retained. For the very first time here, Britain decided that we have to spend some money on the education as well. So it was decided that 1 lakh rupees will be spent on the education every year. How it is supposed to be spent, that is something which has to be defined later. Also, Christian missionaries. Till this point, Europeans or basically East India companies were not interested into spread of Christianity, were not supporting Christian missionaries into their mission. But from here onwards, it was officially said that they were supposed to support the Christian missionaries. So Christian missionaries are also allowed. Yes. Plus, from here onwards, it was said that East India Company was supposed to maintain separate account for the commercial function or the revenue they are incurring out of trade, and the revenue they are incurring out of land revenue, territorial revenue. So territorial revenue means land revenue, and the commercial revenue, trade revenue, has to be separated. Do not mix them. Makes sense as well, right? They has to be separated. Plus, British Parliament said that from here onwards, we want to see what the Bombay, Madras and Calcutta councils are discussing. So that is something that has to be brought forward to us. We will be looking into that whole discussion, whatever they are discussing. So this was 1813 Act. Again, after 20 years, we have one more act. This is 1833 Charter Act. Now, 1833 Charter Act, by the way, it is also called as St. Helena Act. Now, in this particular act, what is happening, that commercial business of East India Company is supposed to be gone. That means this commercial function is no more. It is over. It automatically means that tea China also gone, right? There is no trade in tea China, etc. This whole commercial leg was gone. That means now Court of Director is left with only and only one duty, which is administrative management of India. That's it, nothing else. So from here it will become a purely administrative body from 1833. So it became the commercial business was gone, only administrative body East India Company has become. Now, President of Board of Control, because it's a very important post now, so he will be the Ministers of Indian Affairs. Right, so there will be a dedicated Minister of Indian Affairs in the Parliament, and he will become President of the Board of Control. Plus, British Parliament will now appoint the Governor General and the councils. Plus, European immigration, because Britain is treating India as part of Britain now. Right, so India has become part of Britain. That means if I'm living in Britain and if I want to come to India, it is fine. It can, right? I can. So European immigration was allowed. So European immigration was allowed. Even the person was allowed to buy the property. Plus, there were so many types of laws in India. So there is a dedicated Indian Law Commission being established. So many types of laws. There are Hindu laws, Hindu family laws, Hindu criminal laws. Hindu criminal law does not matter, but then Islamic family laws, Islamic criminal laws, then English laws, English family laws, English criminal laws. So there were so many type of laws. So here it was decided that we need one Indian Law Commission. So Indian Law Commission was established. Yes. So now we have an Indian Law Commission as well. Now another important thing happened over here was changes in the Governor General in Council. From here onwards, Governor General of Bengal will be called as Governor General of India. It makes sense as well, because by 1833 a lot of part of India, majority of India was under the British control. So Governor General of Bengal was not the legitimate or the right nomenclature. So now we will call it as Governor General of India. Plus, there will be there will be additional member. This is a law member, temporary member, for the purpose of legislation, for the purpose of laws and all. So there is a dedicated member which was actually Macaulay. So this is happening in 1833. Another thing, 1833 is the peak of centralization. All the powers of the governors was stripped and it was given to Governor General of India. Now they were not supposed to legislate. If they want to, make some law, they want to do some legislation, they can only request Governor General of India. So right now, so they can only ask the Governor General of India that we need some law in Madras or Bombay. Please help us with that. So complete subordination, complete control is there. Legislative centralization has happened. Right, everything, expenditure, revenue, everything subordinated to Governor General of India. So he became super important. Plus Agra was separated. Agra was created as a province. Another thing which is happening is, another thing which is happening over here is that it was proposed that civil services should become open. Till now, the civil servants were being sent by the board of control and by the company. It does not make sense, right? And the company was appointing the civil servants. It's like IAS officers being appointed without any examination by the patronage of the board of court of directors. So company servants or the company directors were deciding who will become an IAS officer. This was not the right thing to do. So it was proposed that from now onwards there will be some open competition. But then East India Company started crying that at least this much we should have. So this proposal was cancelled. There was some internal examination here onwards, but this proposal was cancelled for now. Plus, it was explicitly mentioned that from here onwards, Indians can become part of the government service or they can become government servant. But how? This was not told. How they will become was not decided, but they can become. Eligibility was there, okay, they can become. What eligibility, how, that criteria is not decided. Plus, this act is also important because it decides for abolition of slavery. Right, and the abolition eventually happened in 1843 under Ellenborough. So abolition of slavery is also 1833 Act. Yes. So so let's come back. Okay. Now again, so this was 1833 Act. Again, after 20 years, we have another act which is 1853 Act. 1853. Now 1853 will make a lot of changes. Right, first of all, it has not decided or it has not declared that the charter is being renewed for how many years. This somewhere helps us, or this somewhere creates this doubt over the intention of the Britain that maybe they want to expel East India Company from this whole function. Right, maybe they are thinking of that. Right, because now East India Company managing India does not make sense. Right, why it does not make sense? Reason, you see, Court of Director is managing India, administering India, doing nothing else. Right, and this administration has to be done by the approval of Board of Control. So it is better that we should remove all this and only Board of Control or some body over here should manage India. So that is a logical thing to do. But how? Right, how? So we'll realize that somehow, partially this is being implemented. East India Company is being partially removed from the process. How? So now the Court of Director number from 24 will reduce to 18. So only 18 members are required. Number was reduced to 18. Also quorum was set at 10. Only 10 members are there in the meeting. It is good enough. Amongst these 18, 6 members are nominated by the Crown. That means they are not the proprietors of the company. They are not the shareholders of the company. But in the directors or in the Court of Directors, there are 6 members who are basically sent by the Crown. So this diluted the whole Court of Director thing. Right, so plus their power, so this patronage which they were using to appoint the civil servants, the IAS officers, it is gone. Now there is no more patronage. Plus now onwards, Indian civil services will have competition, open competitive exam. How, which subject, optional, there or not. For that purpose, there is a separate committee, Lord Macaulay Committee, established in 1854, which will tell us how this appointment, how this examination will be conducted. Other than that, because a lot of part of India, or you can say almost whole of India, is under the control of East India Company. So now they allowed creation of new presidency. right? If they want to create a new presidency or if they want to put a new governor somewhere, they can. So for example, they will put a separate lieutenant governor in Bengal, right, in 1854. Assam, Burma, central provinces, they will be separated. In 1859, later on, even Punjab will have a separate governor, lieutenant governor. Now there are some changes happening in the body of Governor General as well. Very, very important. For the very, very first time, this structure will change. This structure will change, and now Governor General of India will have two councils. One is Executive Council, executive consisting of 4 members, and one is Additional Legislative Council consisting of 6 members. 6 members. Now this is additional Legislative Council, not the only Legislative Council. That means that they are also member of legislature, they are also member of legislature. These are additional members provided. Out of this, 2 are coming from Supreme Court and 4 are coming from the local provinces like Madras, Bombay, then northwest provinces, right? Yes. So plus Bengal, these 4. So 4 members from the local provinces, so that they can propose what they actually want. Right, in their province, if they want to represent their province, this is the idea, this is the place. So this happened in 1853, the whole structure changed. So now there are 2 councils, plus Governor General will have veto power over the Executive Council. Yeah, so this is happening in 1853. Now you know that in 1857 there was a revolt. So after the revolt, Britain decided that it does not make sense to keep East India Company on board, right? Let's expel East India Company. Let's fire East India Company. So in 1858, there is separate act, which is Act for the Better Government of India. How this better government will happen? Now there is everything which is with East India Company will move to Crown. So Crown will take over everything, be it territory, be it revenue, be it officer, everything. So everything will move to Crown. That is one part. Second part, Crown has to be assisted by a Secretary of State for India. There will be a dedicated person between Crown and the India. Plus Secretary of State will be assisted by a 15-member council. This is an advisory body which will help the Secretary of State managing India. Another thing happened in India. It is a minor change in India. Only the name of the Governor General of India will become Viceroy, and they will become representative of the Crown. They basically became government servant now. So from here we realize that there are some changes, like East India Company losing everything to Britain Crown. Double government is now over. There is no double government now. By the way, double government started from 1784, right? 1784 we placed this board of control. So this is double government. 2 people are, right? Britain government and East India Company both are managing India. This double government is now over. Now there is only single government, which is British Crown managing us. Crown will be allocating or appointing governor and governor generals. The Secretary of State we have discussed, he will have an Indian Council. Governor General will be called as Viceroy. After that, on 1st November 1858, there was a proclamation from the Queen, which talks about that from here onwards, they will not be annexing any princely state. They will not be interfering into the Indian society. So this was the first part of the act till 1858. Now we'll be taking up the acts after 1858. Let's go further and talk about what happened after 1858. So now after 1858, immediately there will be an act in 1861. This is 1861 Act. 1861. That is more about how to change the governance of India. After that, all the acts will be dependent upon what all political methods are being employed in India. What is our demand? So it will be dependent upon demand. Of course, it will not fulfill the demand, but somewhere it will be close to demand. The next act will be in 1892, then in 1909, then in 1919, and then the Great Act of 1935, Government of India Act 1935. These all are Indian Councils Act. 1919 and 1935 are called as Government of India Act. So let's talk about 1861 Act. In 1861 Act, now immediately after the revolt, in 1858 Act, they were not able to make some changes in Indian governance or the Indian administrative system. But in 1861 Act, now they will actually double down and figure out what all changes are required in India. For example, they will change the power of the viceroy. Now the viceroy can actually issue ordinances, and these ordinances will expire in 6 months. So the life of the ordinances will be 6 months, like what we have in our constitution. Similarly here one more member was added, which was basically a jury. Plus portfolio system was employed, or basically he was given power to decide what all rules of transaction will be, how to manage this. Another thing which happened was that this was expanded. Earlier it was only 6 members, but now depending upon what Secretary of State wants, accordingly it will have 6 to 12 members over here. Another very interesting thing happened. In this 6 to 12, 50% were supposed to be non-official, rest official. So half of it has to be official, and that means that non-official. That means that Viceroy has this power to bring non-official people inside the council. He has a window via which he can get some Indians inside. Right, so now there will be some Indians inside. Raja Banaras, Maharaja Patiala, Sir Dinkar Rao, they will be invited to the council. This is happening for the very first time, that Indians will be admitted, but not directly, not explicitly. It will be through a back door. Similarly, some decentralization has also happened. We remember that the governor of other provinces were not having that much power, but now there is some sort of decentralization. They were also given some power with some restrictions as well. For example, they could not actually formulate any law without the assent of Governor General. That means they need assent of Governor General for formulation of the laws. Plus, important matters like postal and telegraph, naval, needs prior approval from the Governor General. Similarly, new legislative council will be established in some provinces. For example, Bengal will get a new legislature in 1862. Right, otherwise powers were limited. They were only and only provide their views. Whatever discussion is happening, they can only give their views. There cannot be any sort of, you can say, objection or adjournment. Anything of that sort cannot happen. So this was 1861. Secretary of State was Charles Wood and Governor General was Lord Canning. Now after this, for almost 30 years, there is no development. Next development happens in 1892. Right, this we have discussed. Next development happens in 1892, Lord Cross Act. So this was because of the demands of Indian National Congress, that now government said ki, okay, we will give some concessions as per the demands. Let's talk about 1892 Act. So in 1892 Act, what is happening? In 1892, this council was expanded. Earlier there were only 6 to 12 members. Now it was slightly expanded to 16. It can have 10 to 16 members. Right, and another thing which happened was that now 2 by 5, so it was reduced. Earlier it was 50%, now it is only 40%. So 2 by 5 could be non-official. The highlight of this act is elections. For the very first time, we will see that something like election, something sort of election was proposed over here. So yeah, so these non-official members, few of them will be nominated, but few of them will be elected. It is called as election, but actually it is not election. Actually what it means is that few bodies like universities, district boards, municipalities, zamindar, trade bodies, chamber of commerce, they were supposed to recommend some names which has to be selected by the viceroy. So this is how this election process was being conducted. Still the power was in the hands of the viceroy, whether he wants that person inside or not. This was happening in 1892, Act of 1892. Now again, if we discuss the power, they were asked to give them view on the budget, on the financial statement. Still they could not move any resolution. If they will ask some question, then they will have to give the 6-day notice. Then only they can expect some answers from here. Similarly, provincial legislature will be slightly expanded as well. This was 1892. Next act comes in 1909. Now 1909, highlight of this act is separate electorates. Let's understand what is separate electorate. Separate electorates. So in 1909, what is happening? Now because of the Swadeshi movement, because this is immediately after the Swadeshi movement, we realize that now legislature is expanded. Right now there are 60 members inside the legislatures. But still, how they have maintained it and what can be asked in prelims examination, that out of these 60 plus 9, right, and as viceroy 7 members plus commander-in-chief, total 9 ex-officio members. Out of these 69, 32 were non-official, 37 were official. That means UPSC can ask they've had maintained official majority in the center, right? And now in the center we have official majority. Now out of these non-official members, few were nominated and few were elected. Now the elected seats were divided into general electorates, that is 13 seats coming from provincial legislatures. Then remaining were divided into class electorates, and in class electorates seats are allocated for the landholders from various constituencies, and also the seats were allocated for the Muslims. So for the very first time there were a definite seat allocation based on religion. So separate electorate. So this is basically the concept of separate electorate, that various provinces will be sending their Muslim candidate. Then 2 seats are separately allocated as special electorate. A special electorate, basically it is for businessmen, chamber of commerce, merchants, business people. So from Bengal and from Bombay. So one from Bengal, one from Bombay. So this was the division. Something like this can be asked. Yes, mainly separate electorate is the USP. Similarly, same thing was happening, or similar thing was happening in the provincial legislatures, be it Bengal or Madras or Bombay. In provincial legislature, same thing is happening. There are some Muslim electorates, some Muslim seats. But difference with center is that here they maintained unofficial or non-official majority. The non-official majority was actually on paper given in the provincial legislature. Here we had official majority. Here we have, in provincial legislature, we have non-official majority. This can be one MCQ. Yes, this can be one MCQ. Right. Other than that, power has enhanced. Right. If we compare from earlier, power has definitely increased. For example, now they have right of discussion. They can even bring something of the public interest, general public interest. Right, if something is happening, something like Swadeshi movement, yes, that can be brought inside, that can be discussed over here. For that, they can move resolution, they can even vote. Right, although president can disallow, right, president was powerful, still he can disallow. There were some other powers with respect to budget. Now they can discuss budget, yes, discussion is allowed, but still we cannot vote, right, no power to vote. Resolution was still restricted only on few things, for example, additional grant or some new taxation, etc. Limited power with respect to budget. Right. Another thing is financial statement. The budget has to be discussed by a committee. So before it was tabled in the parliament or in the legislature, it has to be discussed by a committee consisting of 50 official members and non-official members and 50 nominated members. Other than that, there are few things which cannot be discussed, like foreign relations, Indian princes, anything which is related to Indian princes, matter within court, or railway expenses, interest on debt. Few things few things are kept outside the scope of discussion. These were the things. Now after this we have another act, which is 1919 Act. Now 1919 Act, the USP of this act is diarchy. But a lot of things can be asked from this act. Let's understand. 1919 Act was considered as is basically product of Montfort reform. We had pushed a lot. We did Home Rule League and all. And after the Home Rule League, they had promised that they will give some sort of responsible government to us. And this is the product of that promise. Right. So now so there are some major changes happening over here. First of all, control of Britain was slightly reduced. For example, Secretary of State had 15 members. Now they will have only 8 to 12 members. Their power with respect to provincial sphere will also reduce. Other than that, their tenure, etc. will change, but that is not important. Right. Plus, Secretary of State and this whole body, whole Jamaat has to be paid by the British, not under the home charges. So the injustice which we were suffering for so long, finally from 1793 actually, finally they took a call ki okay, let's not go for home charges. Plus, now Secretary of State will have to deal with the High Commissioner. There will be a High Commissioner hired by, or basically appointed by the Viceroy, who was also given some power over here. Yes. Now, Viceroy Executive Council will definitely have some Indian members. So out of 8, there will be 3 members who are Indians, right? They were given some portfolio like law, education, labor, health, industry, something like that. Not very important portfolios, but few portfolios like these will be given to them. Now, another very important thing which is happening in this 1919 Act is the bicameral legislature. Till now we were not having, you know, the two houses. Now we'll have two houses. So bicameral legislature, yes. So Viceroy now will have two assemblies, right? Now Executive Council is separate, but legislature will be split into two. One is Central Legislative Assembly, one is Council of State. Central Legislative Assembly like Lok Sabha will have 145 seats, out of this 104 are elected. Council of States will have 60 seats, out of which 34 are elected. Rest are nominated members, they will be nominated by the Viceroy. Similarly, one more thing is happening, that now there is proper division of subject between center and the province. There will be important things which center will keep with itself, like foreign affairs, defense, Indian states, PNT, public debt, communication. They are of national importance, they will be in the central list. But the things which are not very important, for example, public health, local self-government, education, medical, land revenue, famine, all these things which are basically not important for the center, better with the province, they will be given to the provincial legislature, right? So this major thing is happening. Is there anything like responsible government? No. At center there is no responsibility. Still the despotic behavior of the Viceroy will continue. There is no responsibility. Legislature cannot question anything over here, in the center at least. Now, election, let's talk about election, how this election is happening. Now, first of all, these 60 elected seats, right, the 34 elected seats, that will be divided between general constituency, means number of between the provinces, Muslims, European, Sikh, and women, 0. There is no seat for women, right? 0 seat for women. But you notice, in last discussion, we were talking about seats for Muslims. But here we have seats for Europeans, we have seats for Sikh as well. Plus there is very limited franchisee for this. Out of 24 CR population, only 17,000 were eligible to vote for this one, Council of States. Similarly, tenure over here is just 5 years. Partial renewal will happen every year. Right now, that means 20% will be renewed every year. Plus restricted franchisee, which will be dependent upon income, university, which university you have studied upon, legislature, etc. Right now, like that. Not exactly which university you have studied, but the universities will be voting. Now, another thing which is happening is in the central legislature like Lok Sabha. So here also the seats will be divided between general constituency, that is 1, again Muslim, Sikh, plus landholders, Europeans, and again commercial seats for the businessman and all. Tenure over here is different, it is 3 years. Restricted franchisee will be there, age is 21 years, income property will be deciding whether you can vote or not. 9 lakh out of 24 CR of the population, they were supposed to vote in this. Again distribution of the seats, right, these seats, it is not dependent upon the population, but it is dependent upon the importance of the particular state. This can be one question, that population, right, it is not dependent upon population, that a state having more population should have more number of seats into the central legislature, but it will be dependent upon how important it is, right, now commercially or strategically how important it is. So now, this is the status of the legislature. Yes, so this we have discussed. Other than that, provincial side, so let's talk about provincial side. Provincial side, now the provincial list which we have made earlier, right, just now, all these subjects, now they will be divided into two parts. It will be divided into two parts. So now it will be divided into reserved list and transferred list. Reserved and transferred. What is going to happen over here, that the reserved list will be under direct purview of the governor, right? With the help of some councillors, executive councillors, he will be taking care of the reserved list, right? So the executive councillors, they will help with the reserved list. But then there are some ministers who are selected from the legislature, who are responsible to the legislature and responsible to the governor. They will be managing the transferred list. Yes, this concept where few things are managed by one group of people, another thing is managed by, or another list is managed by other group of people. This is two rule, or basically two governments ruling. It is called as diarchy. So diarchy. So there is diarchy in the provinces. Provinces will have diarchy. This is very important. This is some sort of responsibility now we have in the provinces. On the center, in the center, nothing, right? In the center, definitely nothing. No responsibility at the center, but at provinces we have some sort of little bit of responsibility, right? So this is important takeaway. Yes, here legislature will have tenure of 3 years. They can be dissolved or extended before that as well, right? So they can be extended for 1 year if required. So yeah, so some sort of responsibility is shown. Yes. Now, other than that, 1919 Act has some more things. For example, after 10 years, there will be some statutory commission coming up. One thing. Plus, Secretary of State is basically in charge of civil services, and now he has to establish UPSC or Public Service Commission. So in 1926, we will have chairman and some members, but it should not be more than 5. Plus, he will also appoint Auditor General. There are some extra committees appointed over here. For example, there is Chemical Service Committee under Professor J.F. Thorpe. One Indian member present in this committee is Professor P.C. Roy. Similarly, there is Asher Committee, very important Asher Committee. Asher Committee is about relation of, you can say, Britain with Indian Army. Right, now what kind of control Britain will be having over Indian Army? This is something is defined in the Asher Committee. This also have some Indian members, K.G. Gupta and Umar Hayat. Right, so yeah, so very important, can be asked, can become one MCQ. By the way, major focus should go upon 1919 and 1935. Maximum questions actually come from here, and these are very, you can say, technical, very tough questions can be asked from here. By the way, 1919, let me repeat that there is no woman candidate, no women seats, women cannot fight election. Also, women cannot vote. The women were kept out of the election in 1990. Right, now again 1935. So 1919 we have discussed. Now let's come to the last act, which is of 1935. The major USP of 1935 is All India Federation. All India Federation and responsible province. So responsible province. Rest you can remember like hierarchy at center. Hierarchy at center. 3 points you can remember, but let's talk about this. Now what is happening? For the very first time, All India Federation is being proposed, that the central government should consist of Indian states and the British provinces both. Right, both should be the part of the Indian government. So now we will be having Indian states and British provinces both, whether it is governor, chief commissioner, anything. Both will be part of the central government. Yes. Now Indian states, princely states, there are so many princely states. So now they were supposed to become part of this. But it is not like they will automatically become part of this. They will have to sign instrument of accession. They will have to agree to the condition that yes, they want to join this particular federation. So it is conditional. It is based upon fulfilling of some conditions. For example, it is based upon that Council of States, the 50% seats allocated to Indian states inside Council of States should be filled. 50% of population amongst the Indian states should be covered in those who basically agreed for federation. Otherwise, federation will never come into picture. And the reality is federation will never come into picture, right? Because they will not agree to this. They will delay it. So delay tactics will be there. So now to this condition that either 50% of the Council of the States seats allocated to them is filled. Second, 50% of population in Indian states should be covered amongst those who are agreeing for the federation. Otherwise, it will not be achieved. Anyway, so now at the center under this federation, we have two councils, right? One is Federal Assembly, one is Council of State. One is like Lok Sabha, one is like Rajya Sabha. It has 5-year tenure. Federal Assembly, which sounds like Lok Sabha, plus it will have total members of 375. Plus British India, right? British India means British provinces. British provinces will have 250 seats. For example, Bombay, Madras, etc. Indian states like Hyderabad, like Junagadh, they will have 125 seats. These 125 has to be nominated by the princely states, and this British India, they will be conducting indirect election. That means it is coming through legislature. Now this does not make sense. Reason, if this is Lok Sabha, then this is supposed to be direct election, not indirect election. But this is something surprising that they chose to have indirect election in Lok Sabha or Federal Assembly rather than having direct election. Nominated is anyway, you know, they will definitely try for this. So they have proposed nominated. Similarly, in Council of State, which sounds like Rajya Sabha, so Council of States, this is permanent house. 1/3 will be retiring every year. Total members 260. British India will have 156. Numbers are not important. Important is here they are proposing direct election. Council of States is supposed to have indirect election. These members should be coming from the provincial legislature, but no, they'll be coming from the people. People will be electing. Right? Does not make sense. Again, Indian states nominated. So out of these 104 seats, 52 were supposed to be fulfilled. 52 were supposed to be occupied as per this condition, plus 50% population. So this was the condition for federation, which I said will never come into picture. This will never be fulfilled. So this is only theoretical. This never happened actually. So Federal Assembly again. So this is something we have discussed. Now new thing which they have proposed at center is diarchy at center. Diarchy which was there in provinces last time. Now that diarchy has moved to center. Now central subjects. Now they will be divided in two parts: reserved and transferred. Reserve subjects are very important subjects like defense, external affairs, tribal areas, ecclesiastical or religious affairs. These important affairs are under reserve section, and they will be observed by councillors. So there are dedicated 3 councillors who will work with Viceroy and look into this. Other than all the other subjects are considered as transferred subject. These transferred subjects will be managed by the Indian ministers who will be selected from the elected people, and by the Viceroy. He will choose these ministers, but they will be responsible to the legislature. They will also be responsible to the Viceroy. But again, because federation never came into picture, so this also never ever happened. This is all theoretical. Right now, this never actually materialized. So yeah, so this was the center. So this we have seen. Other than that, here also we find reservation. So communal electorates are introduced, and we'll find that now Muslims already had the seat. Again, 6 labor, Anglo-Indians, and even depressed classes. Now the same depressed class seats were converted to joint seats because of, let me know in the comment section why these are joint seats. Right, hai na? Chalo, communal electorates. So yeah, so European will also have separate seats. And now highlight. Women were also given a reservation. So these are basically reserved seats. Depressed class are the new members. Women are also new into this list. Women is also given reserved list. They have not asked for it, but they got reservation over here. Zamindar, industrialists, they were anyway having reserved seats. Still they will continue with their reserved seats. Right. So this is 1935 Act. So now we have seen all the acts, right? The nitty-gritties are very important, and UPSC can pull out some statements from here and can ask, right? So I hope since you already knew this, right? So this must have helped you revise the whole concept. So let's move on to our next topic, which is Indian National Movement. We'll take both the things together. So Indian National Movement. So basically we'll be starting a story from 1905, that is Bengal partition. And this was basically the act of Lord Curzon. He wanted to challenge the Bengal nationalism. And from here we see the rise of extremists. Earlier Congress was dominated by the moderate leaders. And 1885 was the formation of Indian National Congress, right? You know all this. So basically this is the part where we are targeting, right? UPSC is focusing on this. So let's talk about this. So yeah, so partition of Bengal, we already knew about it before it has happened. Starting from 1903 December, it was being discussed, and we have tried challenging it before as well via the anti-partition movement. Right, so yeah, so in Bombay session of 1904, we brought Henry Cotton to say that, this partition is useless, let's not do this. Then on 7th August of 1905, we brought this Swadeshi proclamation because we understood that partition is anyway going to happen. So let's go for this Swadeshi movement. So this anti-partition movement switched into Swadeshi movement from the 7th of August 1905, right, where we said, we'll do boycott, etc. So finally 16th October 1905, Bengal was partitioned. It was basically condemned in the Banaras session of 1905, December 1905, headed by Gokhale. Now 1906 and 1907 are the year which is basically full-fledged Swadeshi movement happened. Now in Swadeshi movement we realize that there are two components, one is Swadeshi, one is boycott. Boycott is basically boycotting everything which is British, be it product, chemicals, textiles, salt, courts, councils, anything. And constructives or the Swadeshi part is where we have to adapt everything which is Indian, right? For example, either it is handicraft or hand spun cloth or salt or products or chemicals or our own arbitration board, and even education, national education. So here for the very first time officially we are also observing national education coming in. So 1906 was the point where national education was in the picture. Bengal Technical Institute, National Council of Education, Bengal National College with the principal Aurobindo Ghosh, all these came into being. And in this year, in Calcutta session of 1906, Dadabhai Nauroji was the president. For the very first time, Dadabhai Nauroji used this word Swaraj. Right, so officially this word was used in 1906 session and 4 resolutions were passed. Swadeshi, Swaraj, boycott and national education. Again 1907 this whole full-fledged Swadeshi and boycott has happened. In 1907 session, because extremists and moderates were playing the game very differently, so that is the reason at Surat 1907 Surat session the Congress got splitted into moderates and extremists. The head over here, the president of the session was Raj Bihari Ghosh, and Tilak was then jailed and he was charged for sedition. He was given 6-year imprisonment. So Tilak is gone till 1914. So till 1914 there is no movement. Plus in 1909 we have already discussed there is Morley-Montagu reform, Morley-Minto reform, or your 1909 Act, right? So 1909 Act we have already seen, which was about separate electorates. So yeah, so that was the reform which we got. Now few things which can come into prelims examination. Newspapers used over here was Sandhya and Bande Mataram, plus a lot of samitis, a lot of organizations were formed to spread the word of Swadeshi. So Swadesh Bandhav Samiti, this is the only Samiti which worked with peasants. Other than that, there are Dawn Society, Anti-Circular Society, Brati, Swadeshi Sangam, etc. etc. So yeah. So now, we'll have to wait. Yes. Also, in 1911, meanwhile, there was Delhi Darbar. Actually, the king changed. In Britain, there is a new king called King George. He came to India for this Darbar, and here they decided that now they will shift the capital. Now the new capital is Delhi. Also, the Bengal partition, for which we fought so overwhelmingly. Right now, we fought so well. Now it was annulled. Bengal was no more partitioned. It was annulled. It was united again. From here, a new war starts, or the new struggle starts. So in 1914, Tilak came back. But also 1914 is the point where World War I starts. So World War I, Britain and Turkey are on the opposite side. Inflation, unemployment is striking us. And at this point of time, Tilak wants to restart what he was doing. First thing Tilak wants to get is he wants to re-enter into Congress fold. Second main personality over here is Annie Besant. Annie Besant wants to start a home rule movement. She is basically from Ireland, and she has seen that home rule movement in Ireland, and she wants to conduct the same thing in India as well. Yes, she wants to bring that same thing in India. So she tried 2 times, right? In 2 of the sessions, in Bombay session 1915 and in Madras session 1914. She has tried to pitch this idea of home rule movement, but nobody actually heard her. Right now, eventually Tilak met her, and both of them decided that let's start the home rule movement together. So Tilak League will be separate, Annie Besant League will be separate. Annie Besant will be operating from Madras. Now, Tilak League main demands are Swaraj, vernacular education and linguistic provinces. Main idea is Swaraj. But here Tilak has clarified that this Swaraj is within the empire, not the outside the empire. He is not asking for independence over here. He has very clearly stated that this Swaraj now is within the empire. Why he is doing so? Basically, he wants to get back into the Congress. So now this year in 1916, when home rule movement was already going on, a major event happened, which is Lucknow session, December 1916 Lucknow session. It was headed by A.C. Majumdar. 2 major things happened over here. First of all, the Congress and Muslim League joined hands. They are going to have common demands now. And secondly, extremists and moderates, they also joined hands. So extremists and moderates basically merged, and there is a pact called as Lucknow Pact. So there are two things: Lucknow merger, Lucknow Pact. Lucknow merger is about extremists and moderates joining hands again. Lucknow Pact is about having a pact between Congress and Muslim League. So now they decided that they will be presenting a common front in front of the government, Britain. Now by so now this home rule movement was full-fledged. Everybody was participating into it. It was going great. Anyway, World War is on, so the government was also worried, and eventually in June, Annie Besant was arrested. There was more backlash because of this, yes, and finally in 1917 August, they came up with August Declaration. So for the very first time, Britain gave this August Declaration, right? At that time there was Montague, our Secretary of State was Montague. So Montague basically gave this August Declaration, where he somehow said that responsible government is the aim of the Britain. So we also thought that, okay, finally we are on the same page, both are talking about responsible government. It seems like we won, right? So here the home rule movement actually faded away. Yeah, in fact, in this year, Annie Besant, December session at Calcutta, Annie Besant became the president of Calcutta, and she was the first female to do so. So the first female president of the Calcutta of the Congress session is not an Indian, is actually Irish, is actually Annie Besant. Now from here onwards, so this was Lucknow session we have already discussed. So there are few sessions which are very important. We have seen these sessions. So 1904 Henry Cotton, 1905 Gopal Krishna Gokhale, 1906 Dadabhai Nauroji, Rash Bihari Ghosh, 1907. Right now, so main ones we have already discussed. Now again, so from here onwards, a new leader is required, and Gandhiji comes into picture. So Gandhiji comes back in 1915. So January 1915, he's back. Yes, so Gandhiji is back. So initially he was advised by Gopal Krishna Gokhale to first of all figure out what is happening in India, get comfortable with the politics of India, get comfortable with the philosophy of India right now, because he had left India 20 years ago and a lot of things have changed, right? Earlier there were moderates, now they were extremists, and now this is a new phase, right? Very recently, what they are also observing that 1914 is start of World War. So a lot of things have changed, and he was advised that he should be going through India tour first, he should be understanding Indian politics first. For the very first time, he announced in 1916. This is called as his, the leader announces himself. So in 1916, BHU was being found, and it was basically the hard work of Annie Besant and Madan Mohan Malviya. In this session, in this BHU session, for the very first time, he took to stage. He spoke about peasants and all, and what is his philosophy about the whole thing, about the future of India. Right, and then he did some background work. So some background struggles which he has done is very famous. One is 1917 Champaran Satyagraha. This was about indigo farmers. Indigo farmers, है ना, 3 कटिया system. Then there was Kheda. Kheda is 1917, 1918 both. It is about again about farmers, because they had lost their crop and they wanted some remission in the revenue. Similarly, Ahmedabad mill strike was between mill owners and the laborers. They wanted a raise. They were not getting sufficient raise as they wanted. So so these 3 movements, Chak hai na, Chak de. So Champaran, Ahmedabad and Kheda. These 3 things he has done before he joined the actual movement in 1919. So 1919 is the point where Gandhiji will start Satyagraha Sabha. Now what is the issue over here? How he will start Satyagraha Sabha? So what has happened? There was Rowlatt Act. So background of the Rowlatt Act is that during the World War, Britain has realized that they want some draconian powers, and for that reason they established this sedition committee by Justice Sidney Rowlatt. And finally, this sedition committee, whatever they have recommended, was going to become a bill in 1919. So that was something they wanted to oppose. And in Feb, at his ashram at Ahmedabad, first of all, Gandhiji asked a lot of leaders to come and pledge that they are going to stick to Satyagraha, they are going to stick to peaceful resort. And eventually, then after that, he has also gone to Bombay for the pledging itself. Then he started touring, right? He had gone to Tuticorin. He announced the date that 6th April is going to be the date. But due to some, you can say, miscommunication or some desperation maybe, right, na ki haan, people started revolting in Delhi on 30th March, and there were some firing as well. Finally, 6th April was the date when All India strike happened. Now he basically tried increasing tempo, he tried going to Punjab as well, but he was stopped. He was not allowed to go to Punjab. By the way, this is a coincidence that a lot of time when Gandhi wanted to go to Punjab, he was stopped. Anyway, so here what Gandhiji observed, he could not go to Punjab, he didn't know what happened in Punjab, but there was a lot of violence in Ahmedabad. So because of those violence, he realized that people are not ready for his type of struggle. People are not ready for Satyagrah. And he said that, you know, it is my mistake, it is Himalayan blunder that I started Satyagrah Sabha without training the cadre, without training the people. So he called it off. So 18th April he had called it off. But meanwhile, on 13th April, what has happened? On 13th April, there was Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Yeah. By General Dyer, you already know Jallianwala Bagh, so I'm not going into details. So Jallianwala Bagh massacre, this has happened. Just understand that Gandhiji was not aware about Jallianwala Bagh massacre, because whatever happened in Punjab actually stayed in Punjab. The press and everything was blocked and the information was not passed on. So people didn't know about what exactly has happened in Punjab. So he had no information or very little information of violence in Punjab, or basically the massacre of Jallianwala Bagh. So that information will come to him after June or July, after like 3-4 months. And after that, he will start inquiring into what actually happened in Punjab. So after he got this information somewhere in June and all, he started inquiring about this. So that is a separate thread where he will go to Lahore, Amritsar. For the very first time, he will meet Sarla Devi Chaudhrani. Again, will not digress into Sarla Devi Chaudhrani, but yes. And in Amritsar session headed by Motilal Nehru, they will for the very first time investigate or basically present their report. What is their view of this whole event? Meanwhile, what is happening? Meanwhile, there is another thread which is opening up. Another thread is that Khilafat question is getting riled up. Right? What is Khilafat question? Khilafat question was that the Sunni Muslims were supporting Turkey, were in support of Caliphate. They wanted that some lands should stay with the Caliphate, which might not happen after the World War. They realized that since World War was won by Britain, so they might not give concessions to Turkey. So the Sunni Muslims of India definitely wanted, or the Muslims of India wanted, that Turkey should be supported, Caliphate should be supported, Caliphate should be left with enough power, enough land, etc. So that is basically, you know, that name Caliphate becomes Khilafat in India. So Khilafat question was getting riled up. And Gandhiji was already on this side as well. So Gandhiji was already part of a lot of discussion. So for example, in 1918 Muslim League session at Delhi, headed by M.A. Ansari, he was already part of that, right? So he has already met a lot of Muslim leaders. Again, details are not important. So this development is being, you can say, led by. This development is being, you can say, is with under the guidance of Gandhi, you can say, right? So yeah, so he was part of this development as well. For example, in November there is All India Khilafat Conference, and Gandhi was the president over here. So he is also leading this. Yes. So initially they were trying to persuade Britain, but overall, eventually they realized that they don't have to persuade, they have to be aggressive. So eventually they had gone for the militant approach. In fact, in Feb 1920, there was one deputation gone to Viceroy as well. So in 1919-1920, gradually there is a build up for this thing, build up for Khilafat. So now there are two things. One, 1919 we have realized there is Punjab wrongs, Jallianwala Bagh massacre, and we also realized the second issue 1919-20, which is question of Khilafat. So there are two questions now. They both are to be dealt, and now this is leading us to non-cooperation movement. See, if the demands are not met, if the Punjab wrongs are not rectified, then we will do non-cooperation movement. So it is building up actually. So finally in March again, so they did Khilafat conference, and 19th March of 1920 was celebrated as Khilafat Day. But whatever happened, whatever they tried, but on 15th May of 1920, the Treaty of Sevres actually dismembered Turkey. Arab was taken away from caliphate, yes. So what the Muslims were demanding, they could not get. So this is a clear-cut case that they have to go for non-cooperation movement. Now, there is some apprehension between Congress and Muslim League. Congress did not want to join the movement on a religious question. So that was the doubt, that whether we have to go for it or not, which eventually coincided. So we realized that yeah, the Central Khilafat Committee meeting is there, even Congress is attending. So there was some alliance, but not complete alliance. Now what happened? So finally in June. So in June, Congress and Central Khilafat Committee, they all met at Allahabad. There was, you can say, some alliance but not complete alliance, and this complete alliance came when 1st August 1920 we lost Tilak. So date which was supposed to be the starting date of non-cooperation, Congress is not completely onboarded, but we lost Tilak over here. The death of Tilak was basically a signal to you can say the followers of Tilak and to everyone that yes, we also have to join this movement. So all apprehensions were gone, and here immediately September 1920 there is a special session. There is special session where in principle approval was given, headed by Lala Lajpat Rai himself. So Lala Lajpat Rai and Tilak, they are of same league, both are extremist, right? So if Lala Lajpat Rai says that yes, we should go ahead, that means we should go ahead, and this will have final approval in December 1920 session. In December 1920 Nagpur session, headed by V. Raghav Charyar, finally it will be given a go ahead. Let's go ahead with the non-cooperation movement. So 1920 session. So 1920 session is very, very important. Reason, first of all, non-cooperation is accepted. Constructive and destructive, both the programs were accepted. Yeah, let's go ahead with this. Second of all, second, a lot of changes happened in the constitution of Congress. Their philosophy, the philosophy of the Congress also changed. Right, again, the constructive part is about Swadeshi, same as Swadeshi movement. Destructive part is of boycotts, similar to what we have seen in Swadeshi movement. Now, a lot of things in the constitution of Congress changed. Important part that the grassroots level organization will be created, Mohalla branches will be created, provincial Congress will be established on the linguistic basis. These can be your prelims questions. Use of Hindi was proposed ki haan, let's use Hindi for our common communication. Overall, there will be a central body called All India Congress Committee, 350 members. Above that, there will be a 15 members working committee. So there is a structural overhaul. This is how Congress is going to operate. Other than that, the whole motto of the Congress changed. Earlier, they were demanding for self-government via constitutional and legal means. But Congress said that, but Gandhiji said that no, let's not target self-government. Let's target Swaraj. Yeah, what is Swaraj? Swaraj is within the empire if possible, outside the empire if necessary, right? So it is both. It's very, you can say, ambiguous. Swaraj does not mean complete independence. Swaraj may means complete independence, right? And the method will be peaceful, method will be legitimate. It will not be constitutional. It might not be legal as well. So a lot of changes happened in thought process of the Congress as a body, as a party. Now this non-cooperation movement started. So 1921 and the starting of 22 is complete non-cooperation movement. Initially we find the first part till March, we find that students, middle class, urban class, a lot of people joined, but gradually that declined. In March, there is a Vijayawada meeting. So what we required was a lot of funds. We wanted to distribute charkha. So there was Tilak Swaraj Fund. A lot of people contributed to Tilak Swaraj Fund, and that led to distribution of some 20 lakh charkha. Also, for the very, very first time, the national flag was officially accepted that, okay, this will become something like this will become our flag. Right. Also, in second phase, now there is boycott, there are bonfires. Prince of Wales came to India. He was not at all welcome. Then in third phase, there is Jail Bharo Amdaulan. Gandhiji was here, said that he is half naked fakir. Right, na? And Khilafat said ki haan, we should not be joining even army. All these things happened in this zone. Charkha was being distributed, khadi increased, picketing of the toddy shops, etc. started. Right. Similarly, in the last phase, in the end, by 2022, first 2 months or first month, January, by 2022, December 2021 to January 2022, it was going really good, and now Gandhiji wanted to start civil disobedience movement. He wanted to take one step ahead. He wanted to be more aggressive, and he wanted to start civil disobedience movement. So now when he decided that he will start civil disobedience movement, at the same point on 5th of February there is Chauri Chaura incident. The Chauri Chaura incident, some policemen were killed by the crowd, right? And it was taken as an incident of violence, and here he decided to call it off. So finally it was called off on 12th February. This is Bardoli resolution, where he decided that okay, we are not going ahead with this movement now. We'll have to stop it. Now there is no non-cooperation movement. Finally in March, Gandhiji was arrested, and he was also given 6-year imprisonment for sedition. So there is another sedition case him now. Yes. So sedition case on Tilak, sedition case on Gandhiji, sedition case on Annie Besant, right? So now all three are having sedition cases. So yeah. Now this era after Gandhiji was arrested was about confusion. What to do now? Gandhiji is not there. Movement has been stopped. So what all options we have? So now we realize that at this point of time there are a lot of thought processes, lot of arguments. Okay, we should be doing this, we should be doing that. One of the argument of 1922 Gaya session was, so at this point of time C.R. Das was the president. So here the idea was that we should go for the council entry. So they were proposing council entry, that yes, we should be doing constructive work. Meanwhile, Gandhiji is not there. We should be basically training the people into satyagraha and all. So that idea was also there, but then they also said that we should go for council entry. That means because of 1919 Act, right? And now we also remember this 1919 Act. So 1919 Act basically wanted that, you know, there should be some diarchy in the provinces, right? So that has to be accepted. The Central Legislative Assembly we can join. So that was the idea. Let's get into councils, right? So yeah, so but a lot of Gandhians, lot of, you can say, die-hard followers of Gandhi, who were called as no changers, they said that no, this is not the right idea. We should go for constructive work. And that is the reason that Motilal Nehru and C.R. Das, they left the party and they started their own Swaraj party. Right, the Swaraj party was basically not a party outside the Congress but within the Congress, but the agenda was that they will be joining the council, but they will do the constructive work as well. So this clash continued, and in election finally they agreed, right? Gandhiji also suggested that yes, do agree, right, and let them enter into council. So yeah, so November was the election of the councils, and they performed really well. In December Kakinada session, Muhammad Ali Jauhar was the president, and here we decided that we will do non-cooperation within the council, plus we will do constructive work as well. That means it was officially accepted that council can be joined. Those who have joined the council, it is perfectly all right, no issues. Now, due to health issues, Gandhiji was also released in February 1924. And now for some time he tried opposing. He wanted that those who have joined the council should come back. But eventually he realized that it's already settled fact. Let's not challenge it. Let it be. So in 1924, for the very first time, Gandhiji himself became the president of Congress. This is Belgaum session. Very important. Belgaum session, president is Gandhi. And he said that, okay, let the council entry be. Right, I'm not challenging the council entry. It is fine. It is perfectly fine. So yeah, one more Congress session, another Congress session is of Sarojini Naidu. So this was at Kanpur in 1925, and she became the first woman, Indian woman, not woman, first Indian woman to become the president of Congress. So she is first Indian woman. First woman is Annie Besant. So yeah, so now we realize from here there are two stories going on. One is constructive work carried forward by Gandhians, or you can say orthodox Gandhians, and then there is council work carried forward by Swaraj party. So a lot of things happened. For example, Mudiman committee came. They wanted to check whether the diarchy which they have given or the reforms they have given in 1919, is it good enough? Right now, so they realized that the time lapse is too low, so let's wait more. Similarly, Lee commission came, and this was about that Indian civil services should have more Indians. So they suggested that 40% Britishers, 40% Indians, and 20% promotion from the provincial services. Meanwhile, Vithalbhai Patel also became the president. Now, eventually in November 1927, now you remember we discussed that in 1919 Act there was a clause that after 10 years we will review. So review was pending, or basically was supposed to happen in 1929. But since the government was about to change in Britain, and that is the reason that Simon Commission was sent in November 1927. Yeah, the Simon Commission and Butler Committee. Butler Committee for princely states, Simon Commission for you can say the future development, future constitutional development in India. But the problem was Simon Commission was not having an Indian member. That was a major issue. Yes, it was challenged. It does not make sense that the whole question of India is being decided without Indian. So in December 1927 session, Madras session, Dr. Ansari was president, and we decided to boycott this Simon Commission. And not only us, not only the Congress, but all the other parties also decided to boycott the Simon Commission. So 1927 is about boycott, one thing. Second thing was that we were expected, or we were told that we are not worthy of, we are not capable of creating our own constitution, and that was the reason that Nehru report was supposed to be made. So we decided that we will create our own constitution, the whole framework, and for that purpose the responsibility was given to Motilal Nehru, and here we will have a Motilal Nehru report or Nehru report. So Nehru report. So by August 1920 we'll have Nehru report. Now this Nehru report tried to, you can say, onboard Muslim League onto it, tried to onboard Jinnah onto it. Initially Jinnah was very much supportive, Muslim League was also very much supportive, the Jinnah faction of Muslim League was very much supportive, but eventually due to clash between Hindu Mahasabha and Muslim League, eventually they were not onboarded, they were not reconciled, and Jinnah went off. So from here Jinnah has gone, and Jinnah is not going to be aligned with Congress again. So this is basically the goodbye of Jinnah. Yes, so Jinnah will be off from here. So yeah, so Calcutta session this year, 1928, December 1928, the session happened in Calcutta, and it was decided for the very first time that this Nehru report has to be accepted by Britain, and they should give us dominion status. So here we were asking for dominion status. That means you can say the status or autonomy within the empire. We are not asking for independence. We are asking that give us responsible government within the empire itself. We are not asking for independence over here. But it has to be done in 1 year. By 1929 December, if we don't get the reply, if this dominion status thing does not happen, and then in that case we will ask for independence. We will not ask for dominion status. Though Jawaharlal Nehru at this point of time was not very much aligned to this idea. He was of the view that we should not be asking for dominion status. We should be asking for complete independence at this point itself. Anyway, so 1929. So 1929 was a very happening year. 1929 April, Bhagat Singh dropped bomb in assembly. That is one thing. Plus Gandhiji also started working for next movement, that is civil disobedience movement. So yeah, so Gandhiji started creating foreign cloth boycott committee and all, started training people and all. Right, similarly, there were Congress Muslim parties being created so as to counter Jinnah and the Muslim League. So finally by October 31, the then Viceroy Irwin basically tried to reconcile, tried to bring Congress on board on the idea that anyway the August declaration was of the view that we will be getting responsible government. So he gave us this letter, this declaration called as Deepavali Declaration. So here on 2nd November, immediately like 3 days after this, Delhi Manifesto was given. Delhi Manifesto was like, if there is anything like dominion status being given right now, right, also Diwali statement said, Irwin statement said that there is going to be a roundtable conference, and this roundtable conference will decide what is going to happen with India. So we said in Delhi Manifesto that roundtable conference should not decide whether there is going to be dominion status or not, because that is going to happen. It should only and only talk about implementation. Congress should be in majority on roundtable conference, and all political prisoners should be released. That was the demand on 2nd November. Of course, Irwin could not say anything. Irwin didn't say anything. Irwin said, okay, I can't do this. And now this leads to the historical movement of December 1929. This is Lahore session of December 1929. Jawaharlal Nehru is the president. And here we decided that now we are not going to attend roundtable conference. We are going to boycott. From here onwards, we are not going to ask for dominion status. We will only and only ask for Purna Swaraj. And now we are going to do civil disobedience movement, and Gandhiji is going to lead that. This was all decided in this session. Plus, immediately after this, 31st December, a flag was hoisted on Ravi River. Plus, 26th January of 1930, yani next month, within a month, we celebrated our first Independence Day. That is, of course, for namesake, for notional purpose, but that was the idea, that now we are going to be independent. Now we should have our own Independence Day. So 26th January, everybody took a pledge and all, did some constructive work, right? So 26th January became our first Independence Day. Now Gandhiji wanted to create a tempo over this, and that is the reason he gave a 11-point ultimatum to Irwin, where there were some demands like salt duty, rent, etc., etc. So 11 demands were there, and the idea was to get government onboarded on those demands. He said that if government agrees to these 11 points, then we will not do civil disobedience movement. But as expected, government didn't say anything, and finally on 12th March of 1930, he started his famous Dandi Yatra. So from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. So till 6th April, he did this Dandi Yatra, and this created the whole tempo. By April 30, Jawaharlal Nehru was also arrested over here. When Jawaharlal Nehru was arrested, this led to Chittagong Armory raid, the revolutionary motion, Chittagong Armory raid. Then in May, Gandhiji was also arrested. So Gandhiji wanted to actually go to Sholapur, the Dharsana salt works. So he wanted to raid the Dharsana salt work, but when he said that, he was arrested. Right, so Sholapur textile workers basically went on strike. They created a parallel government. Now this shows that people are also, labor, peasants, etc. are on board. Right, there is revolutionary movement happening. There are laborers striking, and then eventually Dharsana salt work raid was carried forward by Sarojini Naidu, his Gandhi's son Manilal, and Imam. Right, and plus 2,000 workers were there. So they actually raided Dharsana salt works. Yes. Plus more things happened. So by August 1930, Irwin tried to you can say compromise, but that also failed. So the first roundtable conference happened in London, and we didn't attend. Right, now everybody was worried, because it is not leading to anything. December 1930 Muslim League session, on the other hand, here Iqbal was proposing something like Muslim identity or Islamic identity, something like that. Not exactly Pakistan, but something like that he started to propose. Anyway, so meanwhile this also has started. In 1930, this trend is also getting started. Anyway, by 5th March, Gandhiji also agreed that we should have compromise. Right, we have shown our power, and now we can actually negotiate. So Gandhi-Irwin Pact happened. Yes. So after 1 month negotiation, on 5th March of 1931, 5th March, Gandhi-Irwin Pact happened, where Gandhi agreed to few points, like he will stop the civil disobedience movement, he will join the second roundtable conference, he is going to be the sole representative of the Congress. Right, so there were few demands from Gandhi as well. For example, he asked that there should be inquiry into the police excesses, which he said no. Then he said that political prisoners should be released. So there were few demands to which Irwin also agreed. So now, if there are unconfiscated lands, that should be returned to the people. So yeah, so Gandhi-Irwin Pact, and then this was endorsed in Karachi session. Immediately after this, on 30th of March, Karachi session endorsed this this pact, that yes, we are going ahead with this. This Karachi session was headed by Sardar Patel. So now Gandhiji went to second roundtable conference. So from September to December, he went for second roundtable conference, and this is the truce period where civil disobedience movement was called off. Truce period. So yeah, so Dandi March we have seen, civil disobedience movement. Yes, this we have discussed. So let's go ahead. So now, Gandhiji has gone to the council, the second roundtable conference, but here also Gandhiji realized that it is of no use, right? And people are talking about their caste, you can say the minorities are talking about that they are minority, what special benefits they'll be having, what support they'll be having. Princely states had their own agenda, Muslim League was having their own agenda, so everybody had their own agenda. Nobody was discussing Swaraj, nobody was discussing how the responsible government should really look like. So here the nationalist angle was missing. So after all the discussion, Gandhiji realized that it is fruitless, right, and it is not going to work, and then he came back. So by December 1931, he is back. Now when he is back, December, so he was arrested again. So he had resumed civil disobedience movement again, and he was arrested immediately by 4th January. Now there are some other small events like Tarapur Basakar in Bihar. People were protesting, and then they were gunfired. Right now, by August of this 1932, one thing you just understand, that it does not work like a switch, that you have stopped the civil disobedience movement, then one day you come back and say that now restart the civil disobedience movement. So that is now how it's gonna work. So civil disobedience movement was amazing in 1930, starting of 1931, but once he has gone for truce, and it was decided in March 1931, since then it was on halt. Though still there were some incidences, but still it was on halt. So he cannot resume it like that, right? He has to build up some tempo. He has to bring all the people on board, and then only he can expect that, you know, the civil disobedience movement can restart it. So it is not as aggressive as it was earlier. So for the namesake, civil disobedience movement has restarted, but it is not as aggressive as we have seen it previously. Meanwhile, communal award came, and he said, and this communal award was basically talking about the separate seats for the depressed class. So separate seats for depressed class, separate seats for Dalit. Now Gandhiji was not aligned to this, and then he went for fast unto death. So on 20th September he started his fast unto death. He was still in jail, Yerwada jail, Pune, and he started this fast unto death. Now when he started this fast unto death, everybody started pushing Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, that, you know, basically you pushed for this Dalit seats, and you should be the one who should compromise, who should talk to Gandhi how we can resolve this. And eventually there is a negotiation, right? So a lot of people were involved into this. Ambedkar is there, MC Raja was there. MC Raja wanted to represent the Dalits only, but Ambedkar said that I will negotiate independently. Then from the other side there is M.R. Jaikar, Tej Bahadur Sapru, then jo hai A.V. Thakkar, etc. So finally negotiation was done. It took like 4 or 5 days, and eventually it was decided that instead of separate electorate, we will have joint electorate. This is called as Pune Pact. Same was informed to the Governor General as well. So this is a modification over 1935 Act. Yes. So Pune Pact. So by 25th we have Pune Pact. From here onwards, Gandhiji became social reformer for some time. Right? The anti-untouchability league was started, which later on becomes Harijan Sevak Sangh. And from here, Gandhiji started working for the untouchables. He basically started working for the Dalit class. By May 1943, civil disobedience movement was suspended because everybody realized that it is not working. And by next year, May 1934, it was called off. It was anyway not doing great. So this was end of one era, and then there was 1935 Act. Right now, so we have discussed 1935 Act. So now we have seen these important sessions as well. Right. So yeah. So now what is happening? So we have seen that by 1934, civil disobedience movement was suspended or called off, not suspended, called off. Then in 1935, there is Government of India Act. And then there were elections in which Congress performed very well. And on the other hand, Muslim League was not at all successful on the reserved seats as well. Muslim League tried to compromise, Muslim League tried to have sway into the Congress, but they were not at all supported. And finally, Congress created its ministries. So from 1937 to 1939, Congress ministries were made. So Congress ministries were formed in almost all the provinces except Punjab, Bengal, and one more, I think Assam was there. Right, I don't remember well. maybe Sindh, right? And so Punjab, Bengal is major. Otherwise, all of the places, all the central places actually, I think it's Assam or Sindh, where Congress could not form the government. Otherwise, they have formed government everywhere. Yes. Right, and now meanwhile there is Haripura session of where Subhash Chandra Bose was the president. Right, now yeah, so Subhash Chandra Bose. So let's not go into this. Okay, so now 1939. 1939 is the start of World War II, and India was already included into it. Our Viceroy, our Governor General included India into World War without consulting the leadership of India. And this was great offense. Yes, it was taken. The offense was taken. So 1st September 1939, World War started, and Lithgow, our then Governor General, included India without consulting. Within 2-3 days, he said that yes, we are also part of it. Now, by 10th, 14th September, there was Wardha meeting, because there was dilemma whether we have to support it or not, whether we want to support Britain or we don't want to support Britain, whether we want to actively support Britain or we don't want to actively support Britain. So there was this dilemma ki what is the actual way. Now so Wardha meeting. So Wardha meeting was about this discussion only, and here this resolution was passed that after the war there should be a constituent assembly, and immediately we should be given responsible government. If this is being fulfilled, we can support the war. If this is not being fulfilled, we cannot support the war. That was the case. But Lithgow did not entertain this. And because of that, Congress ministry resigned in October 1939 that if you cannot go, you are not going to entertain this part, if you are including us without consulting us, in that case, we will resign. So Congress ministries resigned in 1939. And to celebrate this, there was a day of deliverance. So on 22nd December 1939, Muslim League, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and similar parties, they celebrated Day of Deliverance, right? That they got relieved from the Congress ministries. Now 1940 started. 1940. The war is picking up, and gradually Britain is realizing that they want more and more support from the Indians, from the Indian parties. And that is the reason that now Lithgow came back with the offer. At this point of time, Lithgow offered us something. So he explicitly offered dominion status. So for the very first time, dominion status was being explicitly offered to us. Till now, it was like responsible government will be given, subject to their understanding that if we can be responsible, right? But now they are saying that yes, dominion status, take dominion status, right? We'll be giving dominion status. So this was explicitly offered, yes. So in March Ramgarh session, we decided that we realized, and the president was Maulana Azad. Achha, note this thing, that from March 1940 to 1945, President will remain Maulana Azad only, because this is the last session. There will be no session for another 5-6 years, right? So in 1940 Ramgarh session, it was decided that we will go for civil disobedience movement, but it has to be decided by Gandhiji. Whenever Gandhiji feels free, whenever Gandhiji is okay that okay, let's do civil disobedience movement, we can, because we are not happy with dominion status. Now what we want independence. We want clear term independence, right? So we are not aligned with this offer of Lithgow that there can be dominion status. So we rejected this. Right. Similarly, August offer. So he made August offer as well. In August offer, it was about constituent assembly, etc. We have rejected that as well. Yes. And in October, eventually we started individual satyagrah. The first individual satyagrahi was Gandhi and Vinoba Bhave. Now this was like if one person will go towards Delhi, the whole press and everything was banned. So Gandhiji said that okay, you can ban the press, but you cannot ban us from speaking. We will go to villages, various villages, and we will talk about the war. We'll give speeches against the war. So that is something you cannot stop. So yeah, so people started to go individually, yes, until and unless they were jailed. Okay, so this was Vinoba Bhave. Now again, yeah. Now, meanwhile, by June 1941, this was the individual satyagraha. By June 1941, Russia also joined the war. Then by December 1941, USA also joined the war. Now, USA started pushing Winston Churchill, the president of the Prime Minister of Britain, that he should get India onboarded. He should get support from India, and because of that, there is a lot of pressure on Churchill that he should do something. And this led to, and also a lot of Congress leaders were released. War was getting heated up. It was looking like that they will lose the war, right? So now they wanted our support. So finally the cabinet mission was sent. Yeah, sorry, not cabinet mission, Cripps proposal was sent over here. So in 1942 March, we had Cripps proposal, Cripps mission. So Cripps came to India with 2 more fellows, and the idea was that they were proposing, they wanted to solve this deadlock, right? And they wanted to resolve the whole deadlock. And in the end, what they offered to us, they again offered dominion status. Now, dominion status was dead as doornail, right? Now, we don't want dominion status anymore. We wanted independence. We had huge expectation from Cripps, right? But we failed over there. Yes. Meanwhile, Japan was actually reaching till Rangoon and all, and now we were worried that what if Japan attacks? What if Japan gets successful? What to do? So now Gandhiji is of a militant mood, and finally on August 8, he basically August 9, he basically gave this Quit India resolution. He basically said that, okay, now Britain should leave India. Yeah. So Quit India. Yeah. Quit India resolution. So he gave that do or die speech over here. Now we shall do or die, and we shall not remain alive to see this slavery again. They all were arrested immediately. Next morning, 9th morning only, they all were arrested immediately. The whole Congress was arrested. There was no leader outside, and the people became their own leader. Initially, what happened? This was urban movement. That all the urban areas, be it Bombay, be it Patna, Calcutta, all the urban areas, we realized that hartal started, strike started. But then because of the pressure of the police, because of so much atrocities, this whole movement went to countryside. The villages, the peasants, they also became part of it. Students, peasants, tribes, right, laborers, and a lot of parallel governments were created over here. Now, after some time, when it became you can say it was heavily suppressed. Even army was called in. At that point of time, this movement gone underground. So initially it was urban, then countryside, and then it became underground. Yeah, it finally went underground. Yes. So yeah, so by 1942 it was underground. So almost 90,000 satyagrahis were arrested in this whole thing. British authority was completely destroyed, devastated. Yes, all the British offices, etc. were ransacked. There was huge repression by the army. Yes. So there was silence, but it was not complete silence. It was like, the fire was still beneath. So what we realized, that in 1942, the World War had started in 1939. 1942, we came out with Quit India movement. Yeah, Quit India movement. And 1945, the war was over. So this was the Gandhian method we have seen. Now from 1945 to 1947, it is about transfer of power. Transfer of power. How we are going to get power from the Britain. So now the story is about transfer of power. Yes. So it started from June 1945, where Wavell proposed some plan. Now I suggest please go through the clauses. I'm not going through the clauses because of paucity of time. Right, I suggest please go through clauses of Wavell plan and cabinet mission. These 2-3 things. Okay, so anyway, so Wavell plan. So June 1945 Wavell plan was proposed. Also Subhash Chandra Bose Army INA. So we have not also discussed INA, by the way, but yes, so INA. So there was another method of Subhash Chandra Bose till 1945, where he joined hands with Japan. He created his own army, which is Indian National Army, and attacked from Burma side, Myanmar side. But this thing failed, and INA had to surrender with Japan. So INA had surrendered, yes. So INA had surrendered. So by August of 1945, INA had surrendered, and Britain decided to do INA trial openly. It was decided that November 5 to 11 will be INA trial. So now, in fact, INA trial was decided that from November INA trial will start. Now at the same time, Congress decided that this INA issue will be taken up by Congress Working Committee or the Congress committees. They formed Defense Committee for the same. Right, they defended INA. So from November 5 to 11, we celebrated INA week, and 12th November was celebrated as INA day. Right, so this continued till December, January, etc. And eventually by January, INA was acquitted. They were acquitted, not everybody, but initially the first three were acquitted. Also in February 1946, we find that the ratings of Indian Navy, they also revolted. Yes, they also revolted. They were having issues with the food, the treatment, the salary, the wages, the promotion, everything, racialism, and they had revolted. Eventually they were asked to compromise, but they were also supported by the labours of Bombay, etc. Labours. So eventually they also compromised and they surrendered. Now Britain has realized that now people are not in support of them. People have already revolted. Plus army had already revolted, navy has already revolted. Now they cannot survive in India, they cannot sustain in India, and for that purpose they are supposed to go out of India. And for this purpose, they send a cabinet mission to help us figure out what is the best solution, how in what manner, or in what the best manner they can exit India. What should be the constitutional or the government structure after they have exited. So for that purpose, cabinet mission came to India in March 1946, and they proposed few things to us. So cabinet mission. So cabinet mission is very, very important, right? We can expect some question out of it. So let's focus on cabinet mission. So in cabinet mission, first of all, they said that partition is not at all the answer, right? And only thing is independence, right? And completely we have to get independence. Plus there should be some initially there will be some dominion status, and then we can decide. What they were proposing is that we can still be part of Commonwealth. If we don't become republic, if we decide that dominion status is fine with us, we can still be part of Commonwealth. We can still stay with Britain, but our own choice. Right, that is one thing. Plus interim government will be formed by the major political parties, and that has to be negotiated. Right. If we choose for dominion status, suppose if we say that we don't want to become republic and dominion status is fine, let our queen or king be the king of Britain. Then in that case, defense, communication, foreign affairs, finance, etc., right, will be still with us only. Now another thing what they said is that government will consist of British provinces and Indian states both. The union will consist of both British provinces and Indian state. Right, plus they've proposed provincial autonomy over here. We should have provincial autonomy. So they are not proposing a very, very strong center. They are saying that provincial autonomy should be there. Another thing is that Constituent Assembly has to be formed. Constituent Assembly, which will decide that how the Constitution of India will be formed. It will consist of both British provinces and Indian states. 93 seats from Indian states and 296 seats from the British provinces, depending upon which area has how much population. 1 seat for each million, something like that they had calculated. Right, in fact, even the High Commissioner provinces should also contribute to this. So yeah, so this is how they will form one Constituent Assembly. Yes, for Indian state seat has to be nominated by the Indian state, by the princely state. But Indian state or the princely state cannot become independent. Right now, so paramountcy will be gone, and they will not be immediately transferred to any government. Right, it will not be immediately transferred to the Indian government, and they will have to cooperate. They should become part of the union. Plus there will be a separate negotiating committee who will negotiate what will happen to them. So that was the whole proposal. There is not a clear-cut independence for the princely states. A lot of things, by the way, are not very clear, which they have not clarified as well. Here, what they are suggesting is that the constitution should look like that there should be 3 tier of governments. One, union government. One, second, group government, ki haan, group B, group C, group A. Group B should have Pakistan, should have Punjab and this area, Balochistan, etc. Group C should have Bengal, SM, etc. And these 3 should have separate provinces. So there should be a constitution of whole India, there should be a constitution of B, then there should be a constitution of provinces inside. So the 3-layer structure was proposed in the cabinet mission. That was the idea of cabinet mission. Yeah. So they have proposed this idea, yes. But cabinet mission was not immediately accepted by everyone. Right, it was not like it was 100% clear and we are all on board, Jawaharlal Nehru and all like, you know, we have some doubts, etc. Few things we are aligned, few things we were not aligned. Also, we were of the view that this is the last discussion. Right, so initially Congress showed some reluctance, but then Congress said ki okay, few things we are agreed upon. Similarly, Muslim League also was showing a lot of reluctance in this. So Muslim League eventually backed off. And they said that now what we are going to do, we are going for direct action. So since they were not totally aligned with the cabinet mission and they wanted partition, they wanted Pakistan. So on 16th August, they had gone for direct action. So 16th direct action basically led to communal violence. And this communal violence basically started from Calcutta. And then it spread, then it was also in Bihar, then Punjab, then everywhere. Right. Also by July, the elections for the Constituent Assembly already happened. Now in this scene, when so much violence is happening, government decided to form the interim government immediately, Britain government. And on 2nd September, they asked Jawaharlal Nehru to form the interim government. So Jawaharlal Nehru was the head and the interim government was formed. Yes. So on 2nd September, interim government was formed. Then even Liaquat Ali from Muslim League was also brought in by the October. The surprising statement came in February 1947 when Clement Attlee said that now we are putting a date to the transfer of power. See, it was anyway very clear that they are going to transfer the power, very much clear in the cabinet mission itself. They were not haggling, they were not delaying. They wanted us to figure out how we want this. Right, so by June 30, 1948, so he gave us a date as well. The date was an ultimatum that by this date we have to transfer power anyhow. Also, Mountbatten was appointed as Viceroy of India. Lord Wavell was called off because Mountbatten was given a lot of power to decide the things on the spot. Though definitely Lord Wavell has a lot of contribution to transfer of power, but eventually the final signature will be of Mountbatten. The Mountbatten is here, yes. Now he was in so much hurry that very soon he realized that only solution is partition. So by June 3rd, he gave this plan. So this is called a June 3rd plan, right, which was aligned to Muslim League and Congress as well, where they agreed to the partition. A boundary commission was formed and the royal assent to this act was given by July 18. So now this was in so much haste. Right, and see, he came in February. Within 3 months, he's like, this is partition. We are going to have partition and all. Right, and our date is 15th August. He even decided the date as well. Earlier, we had 30th June as the date. Now, 15th August is the date. And this eventually, immediately within one month, 15 days, he got the royal assent as well. There was a boundary commission under Radcliffe. Immediately boundaries were also decided, though not correct but decided, and finally on 15th of August we had independence along with partition. So this was the whole thing. I think few places I have not discussed the clauses. For example, August offer over here and Lithgow's offer and Wavell plan. Right, 2-3 clauses I have not discussed. I suggest please see that because UPSC loves framing question from them. Yeah, okay. So this is how we are going. It was decided that British. So the final plan or the June 3rd plan was that India and Pakistan will become two dominions, new dominions. They were not said independence immediately. It was said that they were dominions. They will have their own constituent assembly, yes. Plus there will be a discussion on partition, whether we want partition or not, where Western Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, Balochistan, Sindh, they will all decide for East Bengal, Sylhet, they will all vote for whether they want Pakistan or not, and they all voted yes. Similarly, partition commission, as I said, ki haan, boundary commission will be formed. Similarly, legislature will, Bengal and Punjab legislature will also decide whether they want this partition. For the sake of princely states, paramountcy was lapsed, and either India or Pakistan they were supposed to join. For that purpose, they were supposed to sign instrument of accession. So by 15th August, Jammu and Kashmir, Hyderabad and Junagadh, only 3 states were there who did not join India, or who did not join anyone, and rest all were sorted. That is something we solved later on. So yeah, so long years ago we made a tryst with destiny. So finally 15th August 1947, or the night of 14th August 1947, this speech was made. So now we have seen all the 3 plus the middle one as well. Now let's talk about economic policies of the Britishers. Economic policies. So economic policies, there are 2 parts. One, being a trading company, there is a trade revenue with which they started. But once they started acquiring territory, they were having territorial revenue. That is land revenue. So we'll discuss both the things. First, let's talk about trade revenue. So India, by the way, was creating a lot of products which were very much popular in the Britain market or the European markets. For example, our textile, our machine at Dhaka, silk at Murshidabad. Similarly, a lot of products, textile at Masulipatanam, and this was main trading area. They had trading areas. Ahmedabad, Surat was very, very important. This area is known for woolen garments, be it Kashmir or Punjab. Right, na? So yeah. So we were doing great in this. Yes, we were anyway doing great in this. So this whole policy, or the trading policy of the Britishers, can be divided into 2 parts. Before the colonial era, or before 1757, and after 1757. Right, then we'll further divide it into 3. So before 1757, right? So let's talk about before 1757. So now, so before 1767, in 1600, or let's say 1611, they started trading with India. So what was happening? They were taking a lot of product from us to Britain, and in return we were getting a lot of gold, silver, etc. So it was very fruitful for us. It was very, very profitable for us. So we were happy with this trade initially. For first 150 years, we were very, very happy. Britain was having, East India Company was having monopoly. This was basically East India Company trading with us. It was having monopoly. It was a joint stock company. And plus it was from us, it was also trading to West Africa, Indonesia, etc., etc. So we were like sink of precious metal. We were very happy with the trade. For 150 years, for first 150 years, it was all good. Now, after they captured Bengal, after the, you can say, Treaty of Allahabad, from where they got the Diwani and Nizamat of Allahabad, where they got control on the revenue of Bengal, from there the problem started. Now what happened? First of all, they got the revenue of Bengal. Second, they became very, very coercive. Right. So what they did, now the peasants are under their control, and they can push them for a particular crop. They can push them to grow indigo. They can push them to sell cheap. So peasants were under their control. Similarly, the Khatbandi system, that means there were some agreements, some deeds where they can sell the product only to East India Company. This killed rival companies, yes. And since they had buyers market, so now they can buy cheap. So gradually they were having better control on this market, Indian market. First of all, they have free revenue. Second, the product also became cheaper. Also, the Dadni and Gomasta, the intermediaries, the Indians who were getting benefited, the Indians who were, especially Dadni merchants, they were the one who were also, you can say, benefactor of the peasants, artisans. They were replaced by the direct agency system. So now Britain was directly buying from the people. Now, this cheap good, right? So now they don't have to give this gold and silver. they can use the revenue of Bengal, and then they can actually drain the whole product from here to Britain. So they were buying cheap and selling dear. Now it is called as cheap, buying cheap and selling dear. So still our product is going to Britain. So this happened till 1813. So till 1813 this will continue, that from our own revenue, our own products are being drained to Britain. We are getting profited out of it? No, nothing. Still Indian traders, gradually Indian traders are also sidelined, right? Import restrictions etc. were placed, and it is all East India Company who was trading into it. This is your 1757 to 1813. Now after 1813, because there is industrial revolution, over here. Now there are a lot of factories in Britain. Lot of machines have come up and the production has increased. Now they don't want our product. They have their own product. They have now the European, what they need is that they have the product. They want that product to be sold somewhere. So now there are a lot of industrial capitalists who will push for trading with India. But till 1813 East India Company had monopoly. We had learned 1813 Act where this monopoly was called off, if you remember. Right, tell me in comment section what two things were there on which monopoly remained. So now the industrial capitalists, they were not interested into trading, they were actually interested into selling. They didn't want Indian handicraft, they were producing, they required market. So once this monopoly was gone, now Britain good will start to flood India. Right, now their good will start to come. So their finished goods, machine goods, cheaper goods will start coming to India. There will be nominal tariffs on it, or there will be no duty on it, and they will start flood India. Plus our handicraft, is it required anymore? Gradually it will lose market. Right, we will be supplying raw material, we'll be supplying cotton, raw silk, indigo. So now we will become supplier of the raw material. Now we will become consumer of the finished goods. This will lead to deindustrialization of India. This will lead to decline of Indian handicrafts. This will lead to ruralization or decline of artisans of India. This will lead to ruralization. This will lead to deurbanization. This will lead to commercialization of agriculture. All these things will start to happen between 1813 and 1857. This will make us very, very poor, right? And our peasants, our artisans, everybody, our whole trading system will suffer. Once we were the suppliers, now we are the market, right? Now we are just consuming good. Now in the fourth phase, where after revolt, Crown has taken over. So this previous thing will continue. It is not like it will not continue, but a new thing is happening from here. Capitalist, a lot of businessmen in Britain have accumulated a lot of wealth, and now they want some place to invest. They'll find that India is a very good place for investment. So Britain government will open up. It is called as opening up. Now people can invest into India. Yes, India has cheap labor, India has cheap land, cheap resources. Very easily they can invest. So now they will start investing into our railways. It is called as guarantee system. Why guarantee? British government guaranteed the return to them. Plus they can loan to Indian government, postal, tea plantation, coal mining, jute mills, etc. Banking, all these places they will start to invest, and as a profit, a lot of money will start to drain to them. Right, so this will continue till 1947. Yes. So this was the trading policy. Right, this was the first part we have discussed. Right, this is about the trade. Now let's come to second part, which is about land revenue. Yeah, land revenue. In land revenue, we have three systems. One is zamindari or permanent settlement, one is rayatwari, and third one is mahalwari. Now zamindari system. So this all started with Treaty of Allahabad. In Treaty of Allahabad, we realized that Britishers got the Diwani system, right? The Nizamat and Diwani of Bengal, and now they were supposed to collect revenue, but they didn't know how. Right? They didn't know how to collect revenue. They didn't know the machinery, etc., or the process, etc. So initially they delegated. Right? They delegated it to deputy Diwans. So initially they basically gave it to Riza Khan and all. Go and do revenue farmings. So initially the important one is when Warren Hastings came to picture in 1772, he started with 5-year settlement called Quinquennial settlement. He failed. Warren Hastings failed into this, and then he switched to annual settlement. He was not sure how to do this, whether he wants collector or he wants to fire collector, whether he wants Indian Divans or he did not want Indian Divans. He was very much confused. Finally, Cornwallis came into picture, and Cornwallis brought this concept of zamindari system, which eventually became permanent settlement. So in 1785, when Cornwallis came into picture, he discussed with John Shore and James Grunt what to do. So the idea eventually they reached was the zamindari system. So what's the idea of zamindari system? Zamindar will become the owner of the land, and peasant, right? So suppose this is the whole land, and the whole area or the 4 or 5 villages are under this zamindar. So zamindar earlier was not the owner, but now he will become the owner, right? And the peasant who was earlier the owner of the land will become a tenant now. He will be a tenant. He will have right to cultivate, but if he does not gives money, he might not cultivate as well. Plus, he will be pushed for rent. He will be indebted, and if he is not paying rent, he can be thrown out of the land because he is only tenant. There is no right over the land. Earlier, zamindar was having some duties as well. For example, he was supposed to, have some latat, retainers. He was supposed to do civil justice, etc. He only had right to share. Right? Whatever is being cultivated in the zamindari, he had some share into it, 5%, 10%. But now he becomes the owner. And whatever rent he is collecting, whatever is decided between British government and zamindar, 1/11 he was supposed to keep, 10/11 should go to Britishers. That was the understanding. Also, there is a sunset clause that on the day, suppose there is a date decided that, let's say 6th of May, this zamindar has to submit money, right? Submit the whole money. So if he fails, then the evening of 6th of May, the sunset clause. So by the sun sets, if he did not pay the money, the land will be auctioned. So basically what is happening is that zamindar, right? Now let's put it very simply. Zamindar who was earlier having share in the cultivation, whatever is being cultivated, he will have share. And below there are a lot of peasants who were, let's say, owning the land. Now what Britishers have done, Britishers have converted peasants or the owners to tenants. Now they have no right over the land, and zamindar have become owner. So since he is the owner, whole revenue he has to pay. How he is going to manage, how he has to pull revenue out of this peasant, that is his responsibility. Initially it was done for 10 years. But later on, by 1793, it was made a permanent deed. And that is the reason it is called as permanent settlement. So Lord Cornwallis is responsible for this? Yes. So he is the one who basically did that, Cornwallis. Now the second system came around 1820s. This is Raiyatwari system. By this time everybody knew that this zamindari system is not at all a good option. So what was done? So this is, by the way, this system is applicable in Bengal, this area, right? Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, you can say, right? But it was decided that in South region, in Madras, Bombay, then Assam and all, in this region it was decided that permanent settlement is not a good idea. Government or the British government, so suppose there is a peasant and he has a land, then there should be no intermediary. Peasant should pay the rent directly. So Raiyat, peasant is Raiyat. So that is the reason it is called as Raiyatwari system. Now it sounds good, right? And it sounds good that it's a direct system, but it is actually not good. So by the way, this Raiyatwari system was initially experimented in 1792 at Baramahal, right? In Tipu Sultan's districts, right? So Thomas Munro was there, Alexander Reed was there. So they had experimented about this, but finally it was implemented in 1820s by Thomas Munro, who was Madras governor, and then it was also implemented in Bombay. So Raiyatwari settlement. So now what is the problem with this is that here in Raiyatwari settlement, British government will actually resort to, so British government will actually resort to, first of all, you know, they will there will be some put cut assessment. They were supposed to survey the land, but they will not survey it properly, and there will be put cut assessment, there will be rough assessment that this much should be the rent. That is exaggerated, that is some exaggerations. So the number which they want is very, very high. Second, the collectors or the officers, first of all, there are racial discrimination, and they are arrogant, they are rude, and the collection methods are very, very harsh. Then comes the money lenders. Money lenders will exploit the situation. They will see ki, you know, the peasant is not able to pay it up, and we can actually exploit the peasant. So they will push the peasant to take the loan, and eventually they will take up the land, right? So that is going to happen in the Rayatwari settlement. It is also not going to help. The third method is, your Mahalwari system. So Mahalwari system somewhere in 1822 it came into picture. It was by Holt Mackenzie, yes. So this is applicable towards Punjab, central provinces, northwest provinces. So it is Holt Mackenzie. In 1822 he proposed that. What is Mahal? Mahal is a revenue unit which includes a lot of villages, maybe 4, 5, 6 villages. So there are a lot of villages in this, yes, Mahal. And instead of putting this responsibility on one zamidar or one village, they are putting it on whole Mahal. That this whole Mahal is supposed to pay, let's say, 1 lakh rupees. And together they will decide, right? Together they'll figure it out, they will collect and submit. This is Mahal, yes. Now, everything seems well, but again the same issues. First of all, surveys are not well, land rights are not defined. How much this zamidar has to get, how much landowner has to get, how much the other person has to get. These right is not well defined. Plus there is over assessment, yes. Again harsh extraction methods, yes. So again it seems like that it was a good method, but it is not as great method. Also it was placed at a very, very high value. It was decided 85% of the rental value. Their estimated rental value, 85% of the rental value should go to the government, which is very high, very, very high. Eventually later on, so later on in 1833, Martin's Bird came into picture. So Martin's Bird basically reduced it, right? The survey and all was done. The rental value, it was reduced from 85% to 66%. Then later on under Dalhousie, it was further reduced to 50%. Plus a lot of investment was done into irrigation as well. So these three methods are basically the main methods for the revenue collection. Yeah, so these three are the, this we have already seen, by the way. Yes, okay. So now we have seen the 4 points. Now let's talk about socio-religious reform movements. Now socio-religious reform movement definitely is a very big chapter. If we go into analytical understanding, it will take a lot of time. Right, but here we are only to see what is required for the prelims examination. So let's quickly browse through the important reformers and see what all things can come into prelims examination. Okay, so the most famous one is again Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Raja Ram Mohan Roy is associated with Atmiya Samaj. So he has established Atmiya Samaj and then Brahmo Samaj. Right, these two things. Another thing is about his campaign for women. So he has fought for women, and eventually it led to the passing of Sati Regulation Act in 1829. Right, he was opposing polygamy, child marriage, all the issues with respect to marriage, with respect to women. Plus he is also associated with education. So David Hare Institute Hindu College, he was associated with that. In 1825, he had established Vedanta College. A lot of English schools where Voltaire philosophy, mechanics, etc. were taught. One book with which he is associated is Gaudiya Vyakran, Bengali language. Right. Other than that, he had some political views, not important. Right. Plus newspaper Sambad Kaumudi, Miratul Akbar. Right. So yeah, so these two newspapers are there. Miratul Akbar is Persian, Sambad Kaumudi is Bengali. Yeah, so RRR. So RRR is one important, right? Other than that, one favorite, UPSC's favorite social reformer is Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. So let's talk about Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. So Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was part of, not the founder, part of Tattvabodhini Sabha member. He is also called as father of Bengali press. He started this newspaper Som Prakash. Plus, because of his academic performance, he was called as Vidyasagar. So Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, right? Plus he is associated with Drink Water Bethune. He was associated with lot of girls school, right? Girls school in Calcutta. He was secretary of all these girls school. Plus, he's also principal of Sanskrit College. He has pushed for Widow Remarriage Act of 1856, then 1872 Special Marriage Act. He has also started Nari Shiksha Bhandar. There are girls' schools in Bombay and Calcutta, as we discussed. Plus, he has written 2 famous books, Bahu Bibah and Bidba Bibah. Yeah, okay. So there are some schools, some publications we must know he is associated with. One is Vetal Panch Vingshati, then Jeeban Charit, Bodhoday, Born Parichay, Sitar Bonobash. Right, then there are some generals also he is associated with, Tatvabodhini Patrika, Som Prakash, he started by him. Then Sarb Shubhankari Patrika and Hindu Patriot. Okay, then the textbook, one is Bahu Bibah, Bidhva Bibah, very very famous. Then Budhoday, Kathmala, Jeeban Chari, Charit Bali, Akhyan Mavjari. Yeah, okay, rest we have seen. Also Michael Madhusudan Datta. So he had helped Michael Madhusudan Datta, and that is the reason this Michael Madhusudan Datta gave him this epithet of Daya Sagar. So he is also called a Daya Sagar. Yes. Okay, now let's talk about a few reformers like Debendranath Tagore and Keshav Chandra Sen. So Debendranath Tagore continued the legacy of, or continued the Brahmo Samaj. He was the founder of Tatvabodhini Sabha, and he also had this Tatvabodhini Patrika. He brought Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar and Keshav Chandra Sen. So Keshav Chandra Sen initially worked with Brahmo Samaj, but later on founded his own Brahmo Samaj of India. Right? He was not in good terms eventually. Eventually he was not in same terms with Debendranath Tagore, and he started the Brahmo Samaj of India, which is much liberal, not only related to Hinduism. Then he started New Dispensation or Naya Bidhan. He also started Indian Reform Association. So gradually he is moving away from the religion, and gradually he was very much inspired by Ramakrishna mission. Yeah. Okay, so these are some things by him. Plus Swami Vivekanand. Swami Vivekanand initially was associated with Keshav Chandra Sen. He was part of Navabidhan and part of Band of Hope of Keshav Chandra Sena. Then 1893 he had attended World Conference of Religion of Chicago. Plus he has given a lot of lectures in USA, London, etc. In 1898 he has established Vedanta Society in New York. Plus in 1897 he has established Ramakrishna Mission headquarters at Belur. Yeah, so few things, few preliminary prelim questions can be made out of it. His literary work are also very very important. Karma Yoga, Raj Yoga, Vartaman Bharat, Sangeet Kalpataru, Vedanta Philosophy, Address Before the Graduate. Then lectures from Colombo to Almora. This question already being asked. Vartaman Bharat, My Master, Baker and Taylor, Vedanta Philosophy, lectures on Gyan Yoga, etc. Gyan Yoga. All these questions can be asked. Okay. Now again, Dayanand Saraswati. Dayanand Saraswati gave the idea of back to the Vedas, and he's the one who established Arya Samaj. I'm only helping you revise, right? And plus I want to highlight few things which can be asked. So he's associated with a lot of Vedic schools. Yes. So later on DAV schools will be opened on his behalf. Plus he basically started Satyartha Prakash, and here he wrote his interpretation of Vedas. So he was very much based upon Vedas. He was very much relying upon the Vedas. He said go back to the Vedas. He was pushing for monotheism, no polytheism, no idolatry. Right, yes. Okay. Philosophy I'm not going into. Plus he is the one who basically for the very very first time wanted to unite India socially, culturally, politically. Right, India for Indians was his slogan. Yes. So he basically, you can say, he's the one who said Swaraj. Okay. Now Bankim Chandra Chatterjee Chattopadhyay is important. Right, he is a Bengali novelist, and some very very important novels were written by him. Anushilan Tattva. This has inspired Anushilan Samiti, the revolutionary body. Plus a lot of novels, whole list is there. Anand Math Devi Chaudhrani is already famous, but there is Durgesh Nandini, Kapal Kundal, Mrinalini, Visabhrishika, Indira, Jugal Anuria, right? What can be asked? Rajini, Sitaram, then Krishna Charitra, then Dharma Tattva, Deva Tattva, Srimad Bhagavad Gita commentary, then Lalito Manas, Lok Rahasya, then Samay, okay, Samya. So yeah, there is one debut novel, Rajmohan Wife. That is something I want you to know. Okay. So we have seen the reformers as well. So a quick view of the some Bombay reformers again. Let me start that. Yeah. So let's talk about few Bombay reformers as well. Like Shiv Narayan Agnihotri. Basically, he is operating from Punjab, and he was somebody who was opposed Arya Samaj. So he is associated with Dev Shastra, right? Dev Samaj, Dev Shastra. Similarly, one famous person I wanted to highlight is Bal Shastri Jambekar. Bal Shastri Jambekar is considered as father of Marathi journalism, and he is associated with Darpan and Digdarshan. Right. Another person I wanted to highlight was Karsan Das Mulji. There is a recent movie as well on Karsan Das Mulji. He is associated, not the founder, associated with Satya Prakash. Plus he is associated with Maharaja libel case. Very, very important. Right, Gopal Hari Deshmukh. Gopal Hari Deshmukh is the one who wrote Shatpatri. Right, now then yeah, M.G. Ranade. M.G. Ranade is associated with Prarthana Samaj, not founder exactly, but you can say from here you can say Prarthana Samaj became very, very famous. He is also associated with Indian Social Conference. UPSC is already asked Indian Social Conference. Then K.T. Talang was also associated with Hunter Commission report, education reforms, etc. Okay, rest I think, yeah. Okay, then Malabari, Behramji Malabari. Behramji Malabari is associated with Rukma Bai case and Age of Consent Act. UPSC is already asked about this. Gopal Krishna Gokhale is associated with Hitwada. He is associated with Servants of India Society. Okay, that's it. So we have seen, yeah. So now we have seen all the 4 topics, and I hope this whole discussion will help you. Rest, I suggest please revise the facts, etc., and be very, very calm. There is hardly any time left. Whatever you have studied, try to apply that. Do not try to you can say grasp or grab more new content from here onwards until and unless it's some snack you want to take, right? That is fine. The snack is like somebody tells you that this temple was made by them, something like that, right? In my last moment, like things like puppetry or something like that somebody is saying, it's okay, it's fine, but do not indulge yourself into a new book or new content or something. Whatever you have studied, I'm assuming that you have already studied modern India. If you have already studied modern India, this will make a lot of sense, right? If you have not studied modern India, then definitely this might have been, you can say, a bit tough for you. Yeah. So yeah, so my suggestion was that these are the important topics which we have seen, all 4 or all 5 actually, and this should contribute maybe to hopefully this examination. This will contribute a lot, right? Best of luck from my side, and please do let me know in the comment section what was your view, right? How you felt, etc. And we'll meet again in the next video or in some place else, right? In some other video. Bye bye, take care and good day.